Hi students, now in this video lecture we will compare metals and non-metals based on their physical and chemical properties, right? So the first we will look at the physical properties of metals. If we look about the physical state of metals, we know that most of the metals exist and almost all exist as solids, right? But there is an exception, which is mercury. Mercury exists in liquid state at room temperature, which is important. Just remember these exceptions. And if we talk about non-metals, we know that there are 22 non-metals, right? Out of which 11 are gases, right? And there is one liquid non-metal, which is bromine, and rest are solids, right? And now if we talk about, and there is one more metal called as gallium, which is also liquid at room temperature. So but there is little difference. Gallium, we say when gallium is handled, then only it is in liquid state, right? And if we talk about metallic luster, for metallic luster we know that most of the metals possesses metallic luster, that is they have a shiny appearance, they have a shiny surface, right? But there is one exception to this. Lead metal have a dull surface. It does not have a shiny appearance, it has a dull surface. Similarly, if we talk about the luster of non-metals have a dull appearance except carbon and graphite. Carbon and graphite we know they have a shiny surface. They don't have a complete dull appearance, they have a shiny appearance, right? And if we talk about hardness, we know that for hardness most of the metals are hard, right? Except sodium and potassium. Sodium and potassium can be cut with a knife, right? So there are exceptions. I'll again repeat, just remember all the exceptions. We have sodium and potassium that can only be cut with a knife, so they are not as hard as other metals. Similarly, if we talk about non-metals, some solid non-metals like sulfur and phosphorus are soft, whereas some are hard, right? Some non-metals are hard, and we know one non-metal form, one element called carbon, which is a non-metal, and we know diamond is nothing but carbon, right? So we know that carbon in the form of diamond is the hardest non-metal, right? So we have a hard non-metal as well. So just remember the exceptions, that diamond is the hardest substance known, which is a non-metal, right? Now if we talk about melting and boiling points, we know that metals have high melting and boiling points, right? Except gallium, mercury, sodium, potassium, these have less melting and boiling points, right? And if we talk about melting and boiling points of non-metals, they vaporize at low temperature, right? The only exception is carbon, iron and silicon. We know that, carbon and silicon, and boron as well, right? Most of the non-metals, they vaporize at room temperature, right? They vaporize. The melting and boiling points of non-metals are low, right? And they vaporize at low temperature, not at room temperature, at low temperature. But there are exceptions to it, like silicon, boron, right, and carbon. And density, metals have high density. We know that they are denser, right? But the exception is sodium and potassium, right? Sodium and potassium have less density, right? Sodium and potassium, they float on water. They are less denser than water, so they float on water. And there is one more thing to it. Sodium catches fire when it's allowed to react with water. How? Because when sodium reacts with water, it reacts to evolve hydrogen gas. It's hydrogen gas that catches fire, right? When sodium reacts with hydrogen, it's a very strong, brisk reaction. Now if we talk about non-metals have low densities, right? But we know that diamond is also a non-metal, so it has a high density, and it is also a hardest substance known. And malleability and ductility, we have two important properties of metals, which is ductility that is metals can be drawn into wires, right? We can make wires out of metals. We know that we have copper wires, right? So metals can be drawn into wires, right? Whereas if we talk about non-metals, can non-metals be drawn into wires? Can non-metals be drawn into wires? Any example? Non-metals cannot be drawn into wires, but there is one exception: carbon. Carbon, it can form carbon fibers, which are like wires, right? So ductility, metals can be drawn into wires, whereas non-metals cannot be drawn into wires, right? And there are exceptions like mercury. We know mercury is a liquid liquid metal, so it's a liquid, so it cannot be drawn into wires. Liquid and mercury and gallium, right? Mercury, gallium and zinc are metals which cannot be drawn into wires, right? So just remember this. And non-metals, we know that carbon can form fibers, so one exception is carbon. Otherwise non-metals cannot be drawn into wires, they are not ductile. And if we talk about malleability, we have already studied this in previous classes also. Malleability is the property of metals due to which these metals can be beaten into sheets. That is, we can form thin sheets of metals, right? We might have seen in markets also, we get sheets of metals, right? And non-metals are not malleable. They cannot be beaten into sheets, because to make sheets out of metals we need to use hammer, right? So if you apply hammer on a non-metal, it will break, right? So non-metals cannot be beaten into sheets because they break into pieces when hammered. Now if we talk about brittleness, metals are hard but not brittle. They are hard but not brittle. Brittle means if you apply hammer, they will break into pieces. So metals are not like that, but there is exception: zinc. Zinc is brittle. If you beat zinc with a hammer, it will break into pieces, right? Now non-metals are generally brittle. They break when force is applied, right? Non-metals are generally brittle. If you apply force, or if you break, or if you try to use hammer on it, non-metals will break, right? Now we have conduction of heat and electricity. We know that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. We know that copper, iron, right, aluminium, all these are good conductors of electricity. But there is an exception here also: tungsten. Tungsten is not a good conductor of electricity, right? Now if we talk about non-metals are non-conductors of heat and electricity, right? Non-metals are non-conductors of heat and electricity except gas, carbon and graphite rods. They are good conductors of electricity. That is why we use graphite rods and gas, carbon in electrolysis processes, in order to make use of carbon as anodes and cathodes, because they are good conductors of electricity, right? And alloys and amalgam, we know that alloys are when two metals are mixed together, they form alloys, right? So metals can form alloys, right? But non-metals do not form alloys. There is an exception to it as well. We have carbon and phosphorus. Carbon and phosphorus can form alloys, right? And solubility, if we talk about solubility, metals we know that do not dissolve in liquid solvents. Metals are not soluble in liquid solvents, but non-metals, we know that they are soluble in liquid solvents. Like sulfur can be dissolved in carbon disulfide, right? Similarly iodine can be dissolved in chloroform, right? We can dissolve iodine in chloroform. Now let's talk about some of its chemical properties. In chemical properties, we already know most of the chemical properties of non-metals, right? Non-metals and metals, right? So here we take metals, here we take non-metals. These chemical properties are more important. We know that if we talk about valence electrons, we know that metals have 1, 2 and 3 valence electrons, right? And non-metals have 4, 5, 6, 7 valence electrons, right? And what are valence electrons? Valence electrons are electrons that are present in the outermost shell, right? And since, one more important thing, metals have less number of valence electrons, so these metals can easily lose these valence electrons, because less energy needs to be supplied to remove these less number of electrons. So that is why we say metals lose electrons to form positive ions, right? Similarly, non-metals have more number of electrons in their outermost shell, so more energy needs to be given to these non-metals, right, to remove these electrons. So instead of losing electrons, what non-metals will do, non-metals will gain electrons, right, and metals will lose electrons, right? And we also said that less energy needs to be given to metals to lose their outermost electrons, which can be gained by some other non-metal. So what is this energy? The energy that is required for a metal to lose its outermost electron is known as ionization energy, right? So less ionization energy needs to be given to metals, that is why they can lose electrons. Now, formation of ions. Formation of ions. We know, here we said metals can lose electrons, so they form, metals will lose electrons to form positive ions. They form, it has positive charge, so it is electronic charge which is positive, so we call metals as electropositive elements. Similarly, non-metals can gain electrons. Formation of ions. These non-metals, we have already discussed, they have more number of electrons, so instead of losing electrons they will gain electrons. So they gain electrons and form negative ions, right, known as anions, and these are known as cations, right? So they gain electrons forming anions. Since these ions have negative charge, which is electronic charge is negative, so these elements, non-metal elements, are known as electronegative elements, right? Now, discharge of ions. We have studied electrolysis before this. Discharge of ions, if we talk about, these are cations. Cations will move to cathode, right, and anions move to anode, right? So cations, so metal ions right, these are positive ions, they will move to cathode, right, and metals are discharged at cathode, right? So metals are discharged at, this we have discussed in previous chapter in detail. Metals are discharged at cathode when cations gain electrons. And why will cations gain electron? Because they are deficient of electrons, they have positive charge. Similarly, discharge at electrodes, we talk about non-metals, these are discharged or formed at anode, right? These are formed at anode. Why? Because these are negative ions. Anions move to, because we know that these are anions, negative ions, they will move to anode and will lose electrons, undergo oxidation and form non-metals there. They are discharged at anode by losing electrons, right? And atomicity, you know that what is atomicity? Atomicity is number of atoms that a molecule possesses, that is its atomicity. So molecules of metals in vapor state are usually monoatomic. If you see the metals, when metals are in vapor state, they are usually monoatomic. But if we talk about gases, we know that oxygen, nitrogen, all these are not monoatomic, they are diatomic, triatomic gases. Right? So these are usually atomicity of non-metals, they are usually polyatomic, like nitrogen, oxygen, chlorine, right? These all are ozone, these all are polyatomic. Now if we talk about nature of oxides, this also we have done, if you remember, in acids, bases and salts. Nature of oxides, all metallic oxides are basic in nature. If we talk about non-metallic oxides, non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature, right? And these are, since these are metals are basic oxides, they form bases with water, and non-metallic oxides, these are acidic oxides, and we know they form acids with water, right? So these are some important points that you need to remember, right? And examples of non-metallic oxides: sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur trioxide, right? And these are covalent compounds.